Okay, it has started, but now we are waiting for people to join.
Okay.
Started, but now we are waiting for people. Okay, we have 5 viewers. I guess there's more people than just the two of us, so we can start, and the other people will join. So basically, I will start by introducing the methodology that we'll use. Oh, it's cool, 8 viewers already. So this webinar works like this. Only me and Naomi and Andre that will join us in a few minutes will be able to talk. It's not to limit your freedom of expression, but just because if a lot of people join, then it will be impossible to talk. However, if you open the Q&A, questions and answers part, you can type your questions or doubts, and then we'll discuss them or answer them as long as we go in the webinar. One thing is that there's kind of a time lapse between our transmission and what you see. So the questions and answers can be a bit delayed, but it's kind of 10 seconds only, so that's not a very big deal. Now, about the goal of the webinar itself. The goal of the webinar is not basically to discuss the ideas itself, so the topics are our opinions. The main goal is to share with you what are the main topics that are going to be discussed, what is the background on the topic so that you feel more prepared when discussing it in EuRegMe, and how it is going to be discussed so that you prepare you or your delegation to help you during the president sessions in EuRegMe. This is mainly focused for presidents because it are the topics concerning the president sessions, but it's open to everyone interested in the topic or to other delegates that you may have joining you in the president session. The agenda is kind of based on the agenda of the president sessions. We'll have all the main topics there, apart from the ones that are only description. And then we'll open a space for questions or doubts or any other ideas that you may have. Okay, so if you have any questions, just feel free to write them down in the Q&A part, and we'll try to answer them as clearly as possible. To start with, we'll start by the president's agenda. Andre will join us a bit in a few minutes, so we'll move to the other part, the regional policy papers that Naomi will explain. So Naomi, you can join.
Okay. Hello from my side. I'm explaining the policy papers of the region. As you know, we have 3 priorities for external representation, and therefore we had people coordinating to write the policy papers for last EuRegMe, and they are expiring this April. So we thought we should repropose them, and this way we should update them too. And therefore, I've sent a call for input, I don't know how long ago, and then I expanded the call for input because no one actually answered in the first time. But now I got lots of comments, lots of people commenting directly in the draft. At the moment, I'm trying to working these comments off and to implement the ideas. And then hopefully at Friday, we will have the draft ready, like the first draft that will be shared again. You still have access to the policy papers. You can still read it. At the moment, it's just not open for commenting because it would be super complicated, I think, for me to coordinate everything. So, but you can already still read it. You can follow it. And from Friday on, you will have the first draft, which will be like the draft for EuRegMe. And then again at EuRegMe, we will have time to discuss it and time to change it and then vote. The discussion itself will take place during the president session. which you can find in the agenda. There is some time spot available, and we thought that it would be easier to divide the discussion into 3 discussions itself, because it's easier to discuss something with less amount of people. So we will have a facilitator who's facilitating the discussion about the policy statement, and there you can still give input and say, okay, but we would like to change this, you know. And then hopefully we'll have 3 updated policy statements in the end. Yes, that's from my side so far.
Thank you very much, Naomi. So this is the general plan for the policy papers. If you have any question about the policy papers or the way it is going to be discussed, feel free to post your questions and we'll move on to another topic and then we'll go back to your questions. Moving on to the next one, it's the IFMSA agreements. So, hello, Ellen. So this is one of the, it will be one of a brief discussion moment. The idea is not to approve or discuss any specific document. It's mainly to give an overview of what we are doing with our partners, what are our partners and which agreements or strategy we have with them. It's also the follow-up of one suggestion from IFMSA Spain, I guess, to discuss MOUs in general. And we'll also use this opportunity to discuss and update you guys on how the relationship with EMSA is, what are the plans, and what has been done so far. So it will be only 30 minutes, if I recall. So the idea is mainly for updates and for questions so that everyone understands a bit better how the IFMSA agreements work. Why do we have MOUs with some? Why don't we have MOUs with others? And so on. For Ellen, the question is, will we be able to join all 3 discussions? So do you want to explain, Naomi, or?
You can explain it.
Okay, so basically the idea is there's quite a few comments on the documents, and we have a lot of things to discuss in the present session. So we'll have that time for the policy papers only, and we'll try to divide in the 3 different groups. You don't need to be in one group at the same time. You can jump from one to another. Like the idea is for we to have at least small groups discussing it, so it is more efficient. And then if you have extra members in present sessions, you can have different people from your delegation in the different discussions. However, if you feel that you need you want to go from one to another topic because it interests you, or you are alone in the present session, you can freely jump from one to another as long as you made your comment or you made sure your comment was incorporated. Ellen, if it's not clear or if you have any suggestion, feel free to type another question. And so far, we'll move on. The idea for the FMSA agreements was basically that, just to update people on what's being done. Now, the next topic is external representation. So in this part, there's a few different things. The first part, it will be just an update, but not a very long one, because in the last March meeting, there was a big update on external presentation, and not a lot changed since then. So we'll try to do the next big one in August meeting. So it's just a brief overview of what's being done, because not all the participants were in the March meeting, and there's quite a few things happening that happened since then and that are happening in the next few months that people can be involved. But the most interesting part of the external presentation part is not that one, even though it is very interesting. It's the next part that will have like 3 of our European partners in EuRegMe. So we'll have Márcio Barcelos from the European Youth Forum, We'll have Tiana from the European Students' Union, and we'll have Martina from the European Public Health Alliance. So these are three of our biggest partners in Europe, and we'll have the opportunity to have them presenting their organization, and for you also to have questions for them to understand how they work and why is it important for us to be in touch with them. And then after the presentation, we'll have 3 trainings, and these 3 trainings are related to these 3 organizations. So we'll have European Youth Forum delivering a training on policy in Europe related to youth. Then we'll have the European Students' Union delivering a training related to policy in Europe related to education. And then we have IFA that will do the same training, but in this part related to health. So the idea is to cover the 3 aspects that IFMSA usually is related to: youth, education, and health. And also as in a way that we can see how those topics relate to our partners and to ourselves, and what we can do at the European level. Hello, everyone. I'm just checking if we have any other question. And this is basically the idea for the external representation part. So we'll have 3 of our biggest partners, and I really hope that they will be really open for your questions to explain how Europe or their organization works. So I think it's a very, very good opportunity for you to get to know them better and to understand a bit better how external work in Europe works. This is basically it about external presentation. The methodology used in the president sessions will be basically an informal training or Q&A with them. So there will be around 1 hour with each external. They are also young people, so they are very approachable. So the idea is for you to actually ask everything you want to, or to understand, even if you disagree with what they are doing or if they are important, it's an opportunity for you to discuss that with them and also to understand if that makes sense, which then will allow you to also comment on the work we do and maybe change a few things. So basically that's it about the external presentation part. About European regulations and IOGs, that's the next topic. I will just go on if you don't have any questions, but if you have, feel free to interrupt me. So the European regulations, they were changed again last March meeting, but according to the IOGs, we need to open a call for new amendments. And there were a few that were proposed. By a few, I mean 3. There was one proposal from Poland, IFMSA Poland, and they proposed to regulate the call for EuRegMe hosts. They proposed to open a call 4 weeks before, then to release the results 2 weeks before EuRegMe, and in case we don't have any applicants, to open the call until 2 days before EuRegMe, and if we don't have any applicant, to open a call for August meeting. So basically, this is the proposal they shared. So it's important for you to discuss this beforehand with your delegation to see if you agree, if you have any amendments, because we'll discuss those during this session. Apart from that, we have 2 proposals from the European team. One is concerning the call for IOGs itself, because as it is now, we have to open a call 2 months before, which is kind of okay for the GAs, but it's impossible to abide to for the EuRegMe, for example, because we had a new set of IOGs from March meeting, and from March meeting till EuRegMe, it's less than 2 months, so it would be impossible to open a call with this timeline. So the idea is to make it a bit shorter, to open the call 6 weeks before, to share the proposals 3 weeks before, and so we have 3 weeks to propose amendments and 3 weeks to comment on them or to review them. In our perspective, it's still enough time. It actually makes things a bit closer to the event, which is easier for us to connect with it. Otherwise, it's kind of too early and people may forget. And it makes things also possible to actually realize, because for EuRegMe it would be impossible. The second proposal from the European team is related to the timeline for call for input for policy papers. So we changed the new system of the policy papers, which priorities will be approved in August meeting. And the documents can be approved or changed in any meeting, any regional meeting. So as in the IOGs, we need a system also to allow input or changes to the policy papers if we think that would be of value. So we basically propose the same system as the one we are proposing for the IOGs. However, we are kind of having doubts about this one that we really want to discuss in president sessions, because we have to think if it makes sense to update all policy papers in every meeting, because, for example, usually in IFMSA worldwide we actually only update the policy statements. Hello, Andre.
Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, everyone can.
Okay, good.
So after this part, I'll leave it up to you to talk about European capacity building strategy, okay?
Perfect.
So going on, the idea is that, for example, in IFMSA in general, we have to update policy statements every 2 years, and usually we don't update it every GA. So something we need to discuss if we actually want to update these policy papers in every meeting, because it may be a lot of work, and they probably won't need to update one document from March meeting to EuRegMe to August meeting, or if we want to have the possibility to do this but not doing it every time, only if we consider it really necessary, or if we want to open it anyway as for the IOGs. So we decided to propose it anyway and open the discussion in the present sessions, and then we can see if we actually want to update these documents every meeting or just specify one of the meetings to do it. So that's the main thing that we think we'll have to discuss about this topic, because that's a concern of ours, that if we approve this, we may use a lot of time in our regional meetings to discuss policy papers and then lose focus on the other topics. So this is what we have to discuss in EuRegMe about IOGs, and that's all. If you have any questions, feel free, or if you have any comments about what I just shared. If not, I'll just move on and give the word to Andre to talk about European capacity building strategy.
No questions? Because I can see if anyone's posting anything.
Andre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should I continue? Can everyone see me and hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to tackle in the EuRegMe is something that we already started in the GA. Actually, it started even a bit earlier in the beginning of our term, when we started to assess what the situation is currently in the region regarding several aspects of NMO management. So we mostly focused on finance, publications, policies, external representation. What else? Help me out, guys. Well, capacity building networks. I'm missing one. So policy, finance, external representation, internal organization. That's the one that I forgot. All right. So these are the 6 areas we're currently working on, and we've started kind of getting into next gear at the GA. Those of you who were there know that we had quite some time dedicated to that. And after what we collected, all the data there, we've actually now compiled it, we've kind of reviewed it, and we made a pretty cool document out of it, which consists, so for all of these 6 areas, out of 3 parts. So one is what kind of problems we're dealing with. Why are you laughing, Big Boss? The second one is what kind of objectives do we want to achieve in 3 years. And the third one is what kind of ideas do we have in order to achieve those objectives. Now this document was shared with you, so I won't go into detail with every single one of the topics because it just doesn't make sense, it would be too long. But I would strongly encourage you to go through the document, see see what kind of problems we're dealing with, what kind of goals we want to set to ourselves, and what kind of ideas we have to in order to reach those goals. Because that'll also be something that we will be discussing at the EuRegMe, actually in 2 sessions. First one will be on day 1, when we'll kind of review what we already have and start collecting even more ideas. Maybe go into crazy ones a little bit more, so it's sure to be fun. And then in the second session, which will be on the 3rd day, we'll kind of decide for our priorities, where we want to go, because there are already too many ideas to pursue all of them. So we'll just kind of choose which way we want to go, and that will make us able to proceed to the next step, which is making the timeline. And that is the goal. So the timeline is the goal until the end of the term, or the August meeting, where we want to adopt the whole strategy. I guess that's it for now. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, basically, just adding a bit of a challenge. The document is kind of long. It's, I think, 12 pages, sure, and very, very detailed. It can be sometimes difficult to match objectives to the goals afterwards, but then it's also, well, it's well structured, so and very, very specific. So it's really important to have your feedback, because some of the things are very, very specific. Like we have 8, 9 objectives for each topic, and then specific actions for each objective. So without your comments or feedback, it may not be related specifically to what you want IFMSA Europe to do. So it's really important for you to comment on it. The document itself is still a working document. There's a lot of details that need to be rearranged, and especially we need to connect goals or action points from one topic to another, because sometimes they overlap. But that's a working document that will certainly could use a lot of your help too. So feel free to leave all your comments.
And I guess I would just add to that the more you comment on it now, the more you kind of work that you put in it now, it results in 2 things. One is that it's not just kind of our thing from the Euro team who's preparing it, so it really comes from the NMOs, which I think is really important. And the other one is that the more you work on it, the easier it will be in the EuRegMe itself to make the decision in the end and to come up with something that really represents the region. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Andre. If you have any questions, it's the same procedure. And moving on to the next topic, it's regionalization and the role of the region. Just to explain this, there was a lot of NMOs asking to discuss this in more specific terms, like how to appoint RAs, what's the role of the regional team, to discuss and follow up on the regionalization process that we started in March meeting and so on. So we decided to have a moment for all these discussions, because they are all related. Some of the topics are even inside the regionalization discussion. The idea to discuss here is to follow up on the regionalization process we started in March meeting. That document, so we divided in 5 groups in the March meeting, and we collected the input from the European presidents regarding each of the topics. We have compiled it yet, but we still need to work a bit to have the final document, which will be shared with you in the next days. And and the idea is to come up with a structured idea of what we agree as in Europe or what we don't, and then it's up to NMOs to discuss it, or if we have any other ideas to raise related to the regionalization process. As soon as the document is ready, I will share it with you, and it will open for discussion also, commenting on the document itself. Yeah, Andre?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on this a little bit, because I noticed during the process of making the strategy, some of the things are also overlapping with the regionalization process, such as when you'll go into more detail, for example, for every region to have their own secretariat. That was an idea for the strategy, and it's an idea for the regionalization, so just keep that in mind as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Andre. So apart from the regionalization process itself, we'll try to discuss a few other things that were raised by you during the call for input. One of the things is the role of the regional team. We'll try to discuss, or to at least at first show you what has been the role of the regional team in the past, what are the things that are kind of established or mandatory, what are the things that are optional, and what things we can or should change according to you. And then we can discuss also if we should restructure the way we select those tasks for the regional team. Also, apart from that, we'll discuss how to select the regional team. You know that discussion has been raised over the last year. It was raised in the last March meeting, and it was asked also by some NMOs to discuss it now, so that everyone is aware of how we appoint regional assistants, why we appoint it like that, if it makes sense, or if we should change anything. The discussion is also being held in the NMO server, but we can just share our ideas and try to make it more clear to everyone how the system works, and to understand also if people think it may not make sense. These are the goals for this part. It may be a bit ambitious, but I think we'll manage to cover all of them. Then the last topic for related to the president's agenda is the collaborative small working groups. So this was an idea that came out of your proposals in the call for input, because a lot of you gave proposals on specific topics and saying that we should focus a bit more on internal development, NMO, collaboration and sharing of good practices, and trying to reach a balance between these and external presentation. So since, as I explained before, this meeting won't focus a lot on external presentation, it will just have the opportunity to be in touch with our partners. So we'll try to focus more on the internal part. One of the obvious parts is the capacity building strategy. The second one is these small working groups. Use this to try to cover as many topics as we can, so that we can adapt also to the topics that you want to discuss. I sent the call today about this. The deadline is in 5 days. Anyone can propose a topic. Officials, IFMSA members, presidents. If you feel something needs to be discussed, or that something could have nice outcomes for NMOs, just feel free to propose the topic and explain briefly the reasons, and then you'll have your time to coordinate a small working group during this part. The idea is for this not to overlap with the topics in the capacity building strategy, because we'll have time to discuss it there, but to discuss other topics. We can discuss alumni structure, which has been discussed in the NMO server lately. We can discuss how to organize NGAs and so on. So it's completely up to you. If you feel that you can get information from other NMOs that can be useful for you, feel free to propose topics. If you feel that something needs to be discussed further and we didn't have time in the president's agenda, this is also the moment to do it. And well, it's completely up to you to propose any topics. We'll also evaluate them, and if we have a lot of proposals, we have to select them. So feel free to propose as many as you want. I'm not sure if this covers or is a good way to target all the things you requested. I hope it is. Let's hope it works out after EuRegMe. And I will expect also for your feedback to see if that's a way, that if we should keep these for the next years. So, any doubts so far? No doubts? None? Okay, when will the strategy be finalized? I can answer and then you can add things, Andre, okay? So basically the strategy, we collected all the information that we could in the last March meeting. Now we try to analyze it and come up with a concrete action plan. So we set objectives for what we want related to each topic and action plans for that. So for now, we just have objectives and the action plan. We don't have the timeline when we are going to do this, if next year, in 3 years, and so on. So the idea for this EuRegMe is to come up with a final draft of the objectives and the action plan, and then until August meeting to come up with a timeline where we'll say concretely that we'll do this in the first semester of the next term, this in the second term, and this in the third term. So for this meeting, the main goal is setting and agreeing on the action plan, and in the August meeting to agree on the timeline and the final, and then does the final strategy. Andre?
Yeah, basically what you said. I just like to rephrase it a little bit. Maybe not call it an action plan just yet, because that implies that there's already a timeline added. I would say really decide upon the objectives and how, like the ideas, how we'll get there, which means basically deciding on priorities. So we'll get the priorities now, we'll see what kind of actions we will have, and then until, like Big Boss said, until the next meeting, then the August meeting will have the timeline, and that all together will mean that the strategy is complete.
Okay, perfect, Andre. More. So for the president sessions, that's basically it. Now it's time for any other business. So anything that you would like to ask related to EuRegMe as a whole or related to the president sessions. In the meanwhile, if you don't have any questions, I'll just ask Andre, would you like to explain just the training parts, joint sessions, standing committee related sessions, and the soft skills?
Yes, thank you. We also published what's it called? Survival kit. But it's quite a long document, as you can imagine, like most of ours. But it's quite simple, actually. So regarding the capacity building, apart from what is going on in the standing committees itself, we have 3 kind of opportunities for participants. So one is, the first one also on the agenda will be standing committee related training sessions, which is kind of like it's applying soft skill training, but more kind of with the examples and the background of standing committees. So that doesn't mean that only the people who are active in those standing committees can attend. It's also a perfect opportunity for them to, to see what's up in other standing committees if they were interested. And it's going to be on the first working day, I think from 2 to 4. I'm not completely sure right now. Then the next thing is going to be the joint sessions, which are going to be, those are sessions with more standing committees collaborating on issues that, can be dealt with from different points of view, from different standing committees. Again, open for everyone. That'll be also on the first day, but it'll be after the theme event, so in the evening before dinner, I think from 5 till 7. And then we have the training sessions, which are pretty known to everyone already. which will be on the second day. We have 7 of them, if I could remember correctly. So all of the sessions that we have 7 of them because we were limited by the number of rooms. So yeah, what I would recommend you is just check out the survival kit. Even if you don't go reading through every single page and every single training session description, in the beginning there's a page where you have an overview of all of the names of the sessions, and then if you're interested in one, you can just go look it up in the document itself. One more important thing is that the registration you have to register for all of them, and the registration will begin on arrival day at around 3 p.m. It kind of depends when we will arrive from Castoria, from the pre-GA, pre-EuRegMe venue, and as soon as we
Andre?
Was I cut off?
Yeah, I guess so. At least to me.
The connection is not too good because I'm on Wi-Fi. So is there a particular part until out off?
I couldn't really
Hello?
understand again.
Yeah.
And now I can hear. Okay, we can move on until you have a better Wi-Fi. There's actually not a lot to move on. Okay, let's see if he can answer. But basically what Andre says is that it depends on the arrival time from Castoria, from the pre-EuRegMe. So basically the registration will open as soon as the participants come from pre-EuRegMe, and then will last until during the all EuRegMe. The only other topic that I'd like to discuss is about the team event. The team event is being organized by IFMSA together with the organizing committee. And the team event will be a bit different this time. We'll have one lecture on the first working day, just to introduce the topic. But then the second part will be workshops related to the team, to preventive medicine. So we'll have 5 different workshops that the organizing committee is taking care with professors from all over Greece. And it will be a practical way to approach the team event instead of just having lectures. The organizing committee will present you all these details later during the EuRegMe itself also. So it's just for you to be aware that the first part will be a lecture, and then the second part will be workshops for all the participants. So these are all the things that we want to discuss, that we felt that could be useful for us to share with you beforehand, so that you're more informed of what's going to be discussed there, and to make discussions a bit more fruitful and efficient. If you don't have any last questions, I think we can end this webinar, which we'll share afterwards through our IFMSA YouTube channel. So, last chance. Okay, guys, thank you very much for this. It was a very efficient meeting, 45 minutes, with actually a lot of participants. So thank you a lot for joining us. We hope that this was useful for you. If there's anything that you want to be more explain in more detail, feel free to drop us an email and we'll gladly explain it. And see you all in Castoria or Thessaloniki. Bye bye, guys.